And I just went through this. Is there anything?
Yeah.
Keys on the table.
It's more secure than the light.
You put it in sentry mode, you can see.
Yes.
Did he say it was a go?
Yes. I think he said live.
Okay, we're live, okay.
Well, I don't think we're live. Are we live?
We're live.
Okay. Okay, good evening. Good evening. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025. It's 7 p.m., and this is a hearing for the Speedway Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm Tim Ramian, the chairman of the BZA. In attendance this evening are Steve Jones, our secretary, our vice chairman, Curtis Miller, and to my right are board members Robert Hodge and Hayden Flynn. Also in attendance is our recording secretary, Eder Lopez, and Mitch Rector, our staff person from Etica. Eder, who have all people been sworn in that wish to speak? I ask everyone to please silence your cell phones. And please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to go over the rules for this evening. The presenter of the petition, any remonstrators, and any proponents will each have 15 minutes to present evidence or comments. Following their presentations, we will hear a staff report from our representative from Etica. After the staff report, we will allow up to 5 minutes of rebuttal from each petitioner, any remonstrators, and any proponents. The next item of business is the approval of minutes from our March 5th, 2025 meeting. We had a discussion before the meeting that there are some minor corrections we need to make and a review that we need to make on the minutes, so we will not be approving those minutes yet today, this evening. So we have 3 petitions this evening. The first one is petition number 2025 DVS 002 for 5357 West 25th Street. Will the petitioner or representative please approach the podium? And please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, yes, Bob Ross with Schmidt Associates, 415 Mass Ave. Are we doing just the one, or can we do both? Because they're both the same, and I'm representing both of them.
Well, we'll hear this first petition, and then we take a vote on it.
Yep.
And then we go on to the next petition.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. The first one is, I believe, the mechanical screening for the rooftop units at the Endzone building. That is a new building on the south end of the football track and field project. There's currently a couple rooftop units up there, and we're asking to alleviate from the requirement to screen on the back side, which would be the south side of the building, which is away from any street, and it's to the property line. The only thing that's adjoining that is some apartments to the south, and there's multiple different units around there and buildings around there that don't have the mechanical screening. So that's what we're looking for.
Now, this one is for development standards, we have 2 different findings of facts on this. But the variance is for the screening. Well, I don't know why we have two of those. 2 of the findings of fact. And I apologize. What What part of the complex is this located? This,
So it's at the high school property, and so the high schools call it on the east side. The track and field is on the west side.
Right.
So the new track and field is going to be where the old one was, and then it's a building south of the track and field. And so then that's a new building, and the units will sit up on top of that. We are screening 3 out of the 4 sides, and it's just the south side that we're looking for the variance for.
okay, well, this, I don't think you're talking about, this one says it's the field house addition for the high school?
Oh, sorry. I had it mixed up.
Okay, that's why I'm.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then this one is for the field house addition. This is a part of the high school. If you're looking at the high school, it's the southeast side of the building where the current aux gym is. We're looking at adding 3 gym additions, or a field house addition to the south of it. It's 3 courts, and we're looking to get the variance for screening none of the mechanical units because the entire building doesn't have any screening as part of that currently.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. I apologize, but I wasn't reading what you were saying, and that's.
Yep, I had the 2 and the 3 mixed up. I thought we were going to do them both at the same time. My
Okay.
apologies.
Board members, do you have any questions
Not
on
at
this?
this time.
No.
No, okay. There's, next, okay, thank you, and we'll ask, are there any remonstrators or proponents for this proposal? Okay. If not, then I ask our representative from Etica to give his report.
Good evening. My name is Mitch Rector, and I'm here from Etica Group. Our office is at 8720 Castle Creek Parkway East Drive, and I put together a staff report reviewing this petition to help the board come to a decision. I am recommending that this variance be approved. I'll just start by saying that. The request, like the petitioner said, is to eliminate screening of the rooftop mechanical units, and I've included the verbiage of that section in the report that you should have. So taking a look at the surrounding zoning, this is an SU2 school use zone. We have dwelling districts for medium intensity single family to the north and the east. To the west is a C4 community regional, and to the south is medium density residential, which is apartment buildings. The site itself is 53 acres, and obviously the school already exists there. This is meant to be an addition to the gym area. So this variance would provide for the school's fieldhouse addition to provide a new 24,000 square foot addition, including 3 high school basketball courts and the 2 rooftop mechanical units. The primary goal of the section that the variance is being sought on is to protect the equipment from view of the public for aesthetic reasons. It doesn't seem to request any kind of structural or mechanical consideration, so this is mostly based around protecting this from view from people on the ground. I know the original petition mentioned some questions about a view from the second story of the apartments, but since they're not at ground level, I think that can be not disregarded, but it's not necessarily applicable to the variance. Based on the plans that were provided by the petitioner, I do think that the mechanical equipment is placed far enough in the center of the building that the edge of the building itself without a parapet wall will help screen that from any view from the ground level. So for that reason, I'm recommending the approval of this variance for the fieldhouse addition.
Board members, do you have any questions?
No.
Do you have an idea as to the minimum distance from any of the units to a residential, any of these mechanical units to a residential unit?
I'm sorry, do you mean?
Minimum distance from the mechanical units to a residential unit?
By residential, do you mean the apartments?
Apartments or a house? Yes.
It's, I mean, you're looking at several hundred yards. You have to cross a parking lot. It's quite far away.
Thank you.
And I believe there's trees on the south side of the property as well that provide some additional screening if anyone ends up looking from the apartment area.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. And I don't think we'll have any rebuttals since there were no statements earlier. Unless the petitioner, do you have anything to add to that? Okay. If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion and a second to vote on the petition.
I'll move to vote on the petition.
Okay,
I'll second.
a second. Okay. Mr. Secretary, will you
Yeah.
please pass those out, the ballots?
Okay. Variance 2025 DVS 002, auxiliary gym addition, variance 540 against.
Okay, that petition passes. Okay, we'll move on to our next one, which is 2025 DVS 003 for the same address. Will you please approach the podium? I bet I know what you're going to talk about now.
Yeah, no kidding. Bob Ross again, 415 Mass Ave, Schmidt Associates, architect, engineers for the schools. As I mentioned, Endzone building south of the new track and field on the west side of the property. We do have parapets screening 3 of the 4 sides. It's the south side, the 4th side, that we do not have screening for, which is adjacent to the property line on the south side, which there are trees that were added as part of the project as well to screen that. And as mentioned, it's over 100 feet away from the property line.
And I think for this structure, this is closer to the apartments. It's further away from Lyndhurst Drive.
That is
but it's-
correct. Yep.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So whereas the high schools, like I mentioned, yards away, this is probably 100 feet or 150 feet away versus the distance the high school is. So it is closer,
Okay.
but it is screened from Lyndhurst, like mentioned. Yep.
Okay. Any questions on this one?
So the choice of screening on this building, 3 sides, the sides facing campus, but the one side that is facing the residential property is not. Any understanding as to why that is the plan?
Yeah, the reason for that was to screen from roadways, which is usually the more typical thing to screen from versus the adjacent property line, which is only a few hundred, not even, it's a couple apartments that can see it really, and you have to be on the 2nd story of it because it is, again, even from ground level, you can't really see it from that distance. And the cost to do that extra side, again, we were looking to look nice from the field, and it's expensive and adds a lot of steel and structure to add it on the south side. It's kind of more of a back of house.
Okay. Any other questions?
And these units that are being screened, I mean, I'm assuming they make noise, correct?
Yes, I mean, they're not extremely loud. They're not, I mean, it's an end zone building, so it's not a big building, so it's not going to be your typical loud chillers that you see next to a high school or things like that. It is a lot smaller and is a rooftop unit, but.
And am I correct in assuming that the screening would help dull sound or?
Depending on the type of screening, some of them you can do, I believe screening is allowed to have more of a louver type look to it, and so that would still allow sound through it. It would block some of it, but depending on the screening type that we would go with, it would still allow sound through it.
And what screening type did you go with the other?
The 3 sides of it would be the parapet, which is more of a solid type, but if we had to or whatever, it would probably be more of a louver type look to it where it's got the slats.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any proponents or remonstrators to speak to this petition? Okay. If not, we will hear from our representative from Etica, please.
Hello again. Again, my name is Mitch Rector from Etica. I prepared this staff report to help the board make a decision. Once again, I'm recommending an approval to this variance for the rooftop, removal of the screening for the rooftop units for the Endzone building. Since this is at the same property, all similar existing zoning and surrounding zoned uses still apply, though it is closer to the apartments to the south. Once again, for similar reasons, I think the phrasing of this ordinance and the zoning manual is mostly about protecting from visual considerations from the nearby streets. This is still quite a way from any streets, and while this building is only 1 story tall, again, the question is a line of sight from ground level. So even though there's some possible line of sight from the 2nd story apartments, I don't think that's necessarily what this ordinance is meant to protect against. And again, there are trees on the south side of the property, so I think that'll help screen anything, especially far away. So I'm recommending approving of this variance.
Okay. Board members, any questions for Mitch?
No.
No? Curtis?
Just one quick question. So there are trees, screening trees on the plans, because I'm not seeing any indicated on the plans that have been submitted as a part of this variance. Where'd he go? Oh,
I believe there are on site.
and they're going to remain there as a part of the construction?
Well, they'll
Okay.
have to.
I think that would be a question for the petitioner.
Okay.
I'm not sure about
Yeah.
that.
Okay, thanks, Mitch.
Yeah, that's, let them answer it.
Okay, is this not Bob? It's not-
I'm not sure what plans you have in front of you, if you have the site plan or just the architectural plans. But as part of, I think, your different ordinances that we did meet, there is a buffer zone that is required with trees planting in that, and we did meet that requirement. And you guys do require quite a few trees, so those trees have been added. There were a couple existing trees, and a couple of them had to go away due to the drive. So some have been removed, but there have been some added, and there was some existing. So kind of all the answers, I guess.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any other people to speak on this? If there's not, I'll entertain a motion and a second to vote on this petition.
I'll make a motion, Chair.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Will you please pass out the ballots? Extra.
Okay. Petition 2025 DVS 003 Endzone Building, variance 540 against.
Okay, that petition passes 5-0. Thank you very much. The next item of business is petition number 2025 DVS 004 for 4914 West 15th Street.
Good evening, Board. Bowman Elder, petitioner for 4915 West 15th Street, petitioning to create supplemental parking for the retail space was part of our acquisition on Main Street. Here to answer any questions. We recognize the need to create more parking so that the retailers that we've been in communication with will have adequate parking for facilitating their retail needs.
I wanted to mention, we were informed late last week that you were interested in changing the configuration of the parking, which would require a setback. And
Possibly. My understanding is current setback needs are 10 feet. If we reduced it to 5, we could gain a few extra spaces. We'd like to consider going forward with our original petition. I think we could create at least 15 more spaces, so I think that's adequate for what we need. Happy to have that discussion at a later date if there's an ability to understand we can get more spaces by reducing that setback, but the original 10-foot setback is adequate for what we would need.
Okay, because there's really two ways to go about this. If you if you do wish to have a variance for the setback and change that configuration, it will require a new petition
Sure.
and a delay. So are you saying that you are going back to the original configuration as submitted?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Before we go any further, then I need to have Mitch step forward, because I don't want to put you on the spot. I need to ask you a question before. Just, yeah, stay up here, sir. So Mitch, when you submitted your recommendation, you were recommending us tabling this for next month because of your understanding about the other possible variance on this.
That is correct. I know there was some additional questions about the notices that had gone out as far as the amendment possibly creating a need for the variance of use and a separate variance of dimension standards.
Well, Mike, you don't give your report yet. I don't need your report yet, but I need to know,
Apologize.
because you're kind of being put on the spot, if we proceed with this petition as submitted, are you ready to give us a recommendation tonight on it? As submitted?
As submitted, I would still request until next month. I think this would be best served delayed.
Okay, all right. So we have a lot of people that have come forward tonight to hear this petition, and I know that several have said they wish to speak. I'm not really clear where we should go on this, if we should delay this till May then, because of our staff recommendation, or our staff person recommending that. What are your thoughts?
I say let him speak.
Given that they've indicated that they're going to continue forward with the plan as is, people have had a chance to review that plan. They came to speak to that plan. I believe they should be able to speak to that plan tonight.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so Mitch, what we will probably do, we'll ask the petitioner to come back to the podium now, and we will hear, because I know we have some questions for him, and then we will hear from the audience members that wish to speak.
Okay. I do have a couple notes that might still be relevant after the petitioner and any remonstrators or proponents speak, so
Okay.
I can still
Thank you,
bring that
Mitch.
up.
For what it's worth, the engineer that we've retained to look at the site, if we reduce that setback, our number of...
Excuse me, someone is speaking in the audience. It's difficult to hear everything when other people are, when we have someone at the podium. Please respect that. Okay, continue, please.
The increase of actual spaces we could actually gain is so minimal, so that's why we were saying, hey, we'd like to consider continuing with the petition as you originally received it. The setback to 5 feet actually doesn't help us that much in actually gaining more spaces, so that's what we were saying. The original petition we supplied to you guys, we want to go forward with that.
Okay. One question that I have, will this be a restricted parking lot, or is it public parking?
We'd like to have some dedicated spaces, but in communications with the town as we were going forward with this acquisition, we wanted to at least open it up to the town as well. So we just wanted to have a few dedicated spaces for the retailers that are on Main Street. That was part of this acquisition, but we also have extra spaces that would be for the town as well. So we wanted to be able to supplement the need for excess parking along Main Street as well.
Okay.
And that's happy to have more conversations about how many dedicated spaces, but we would like to have a few for the retailers that we have in communication with the space.
Okay. Board members, what questions do you have for the petitioner?
I don't have any right now.
None yet? Robert, or? No, not yet?
Not at this point.
Okay. We might ask you to come back up, so thank you. Okay, since we have several people that wish to speak, I'm not sure how we will do this. I guess I'll ask the first person to come forward that wishes to speak to the, whether they're in favor or a remonstrator. Okay. And please state your name and address then.
Can I pass out something first?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is, Janet Fullen. I live at 1629 Fisher Avenue. And I'm here as the Vice President of Old Speedway City Neighborhood Association. So I'm going to be reading a statement from the Neighborhood Association. The Old Speedway City Neighborhood Association is also called OSCNA. First, we want to say that we do support growth in our town. We're voicing an opinion on this variance request at 4914 West 15th. I noticed it said 4915 up above. Am I correct? 4914?
4914.
With the intention of that property to be converted from a residential lot to a parking lot in a national designated historic neighborhood. There's plenty of available research on this that can be found about the negative impact of placing parking lots in residential areas. The Old Speedway City is a national recognized historic district, and historic districts encourage communities to retain and use their existing resources, which reduce the need for autos and also help reduce pollution. Creating a parking lot in what is a residential home lot will negatively impact the neighborhood environment. Parking lots increase heat island effects. They add traffic noise and congestion with little benefit to the residential street in a historic neighborhood district. There are also safety concerns with parking lots on residential streets. They do create congestion, or they can, and they can lead to traffic hazards, especially if they're accessed by larger vehicles. Pedestrians, cyclists, and children are at a higher risk in such an environment. An increase in traffic noise and vehicle emissions occurs in parking lots, especially if they have a high traffic turnover. There's going to be possible negative impact with car motors running, loud radios, people that may congregate in groups around vehicles in a parking lot. Parking lots do require lighting, and that can disturb neighborhood peace, affecting quality of life. As we approach the town's centennial, we're reminded of its rich history. The Founding Fathers' desire to build a horseless city and incorporated the automobile into the design of the infrastructure and homes here in what has become a nationally recognized historic district. They understood the need for the strong community by outlining our border, which is 16th Street, 10th Street, Main Street, and Winwood Avenue, as the historic district that allowed for business allocation and housing development, which in turn became the Old Speedway City. As Speedway residents, we support local businesses and we look forward to future investments in the town. We implore new companies that are attracted to our town charm to respect the importance of our town's historic district. Our concern is that the Speedway Historical District's deterioration will begin with automotive parking in a non-residential area. The variance request would allow the acquisition of residential homes and rezoning, which could destroy the integrity of our neighborhood and a part of Speedway's history. OSCNA recognizes variance requests such as this could even end up a slippery slope, as it could include further development like this with parking lots in a residential area. And lastly, the town identified in their comprehensive plan on pages 112 and 113, which are in your packet, the importance of historic preservation of the OSCNA designation and its initiatives which aim to preserve and promote this historic district.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Your comments will be part of the record. This document will be part of our permanent record for this petition. Do you have any questions for Mrs. Fullen? Anyone?
No.
All right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, will the next petitioner or person who wishes to speak?
Hello, everyone. Apologies for walking in late. We had Speedway High School ninth grader orientation this evening, so I jumped over here. So I am Jessica McCormick. I am the City County Councilor for Indianapolis that represents District 16, which includes this address, the south half of Speedway, so south of Crawfordsville, and a majority of Wayne Township. I'm also a resident of Speedway and have been for over 20 years. I'm coming to this with, I'm here to support our residents, our community, our businesses. And I think we can work together as a community, utilize our strengths to build each other up through thoughtful and innovative solutions that bring the best of us, all of us together, for all of us and the gem of Old Speedway, Main Street. We do not have a parking issue. We have a housing issue. There is plenty of parking within 2 blocks of east and west all along Main Street. South, there is so much parking. Brownfields and empty lots. North, yes, there are less options, but there are solutions that I can see we can work together. 16th Street could become 1 lane each way, parking along both sides. That would add well more than 14 spots. We can have wayfinding to point to parking that isn't so obvious, east and west of the Speedway gas station on 16th Street. And we have a number of businesses who we love that have empty lots in the evenings and the weekends, which is where our high demand is. So again, I think we can find solutions for the parking issues. We have a housing issue. There's been a promise to homeowners, Speedway residents, that Old Speedway would not change, the homes would stay. Promises are being broken, and this would just add to the downfall of what we know happens. There are communities all across Indianapolis and our country that will show when one parking lot comes up, more will follow. We have a walking issue, but we can talk about that another time, okay? So with this housing shortage, we're gonna demo a large home in Speedway, which we all know large homes in Speedway are smaller to come up, short to come of. We're gonna demo that for 14 parking spots. 14, right? Is it 15 now, I'm sorry? No, 14 is the last number I saw, sorry. And not only are we losing a home, and would probably bring in more property tax than a parking lot, I'm gonna guess, so there's that as well. There's a property tax item to address. We also lost 3 trees. And I don't know exactly what they were, but they were huge. My husband, who's in the back, and I could not wrap our arms around one of those trees and touch fingers. 3 of them are gone, and I was devastated when I drove by. And to no fault of the petitioner who owns the property, and you guys have not done this part, but over and over again, I've seen town leadership not put interest in our natural beauty, our trees, our landscape, and our green spaces. Our pocket park on Main Street initially was designed with 0 trees. You can go back to the hearing for that. I was there and we talked about it, because what park has no trees? All concrete is not a park. That, I will go on a little tangent here. We have 1 natural space left in Speedway along the B&O Trail. It is owned by the redevelopment, and they want to put in up to a dozen large 1,000-square-foot homes and demo the last natural untouched space that we have in our community that has wildlife in a diverse way. Some of them are even endangered. And again, that's a chat for another day.
Jessica, excuse me, but please stick to
So that's a chat for another day, so we need to
Right, please
just stay on this.
We have a lot of people that
And
wish
I
to
know, so that was my sidestep. So I oppose this. There are ways to find a solution for the parking. Our housing is a bigger issue, and to lose a large home is not what we need. And we can find solutions within our community, and I'll work together for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. The next person who wishes to speak, please come forward. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Vince Noblet. I live at 1851 North Auburn. Been a resident all my life, and I tried to contribute as much as I possibly can, just like most of you guys have done. But I'd like to speak in favor of the petitioner. This is an individual that's looking at investing in this town. The Main Street has been looked at upside down one way to another. We've put a lot of time and effort in relationship to taking vacant lots and into productive retail and businesses that contribute to this town. And I think it's important to note that this investor is willing to put his money in versus having the town's money going to building parking spaces and converting buildings over into finished products into retail operations. This is an individual that has a lot of experience in this. He's invested a lot of money, and this isn't the first time that he's done this. I think that, yes, there have been 2 homes on Main Street that was demolished, one at the Torella House behind Barbecue and Bourbon, and the other one behind Big Woods. Both of them were willing sellers at that point. Both of them were in desperate need of parking. And I think that what we hear from the residents of Speedway as a member of the town council is that businesses, they don't have room for parking for their employees. They've got to park in residential areas. So then you start getting into conflicts between customers that are walking up into businesses along Main Street, taking parking spots in front of residential homes at that point. Whereas this individual invested a lot of his money, yes, to remove that house and make it into parking spots for employees and for customers of the retail operation that's going to be built at that point. I don't think it's never an easy answer, because we've been doing this since 2005, and the investment for a multi-story parking garage is multi-million of dollars. And we've got plenty of parking across the roundabout. It's not the easiest thing to cross from that stand, but you got to get from one side of the street to the other. But there are additional parking lots that are not being used in the evening. But a lot of people, let's face it, they don't want to walk. They would rather pull up in front of a business, go in, do their business, and then leave. And that's the way it is in today's environment. But I just want to say, I appreciate the town's concerns. I have the same concerns. We want to maintain the character of this town. We love, especially 15th and 14th Street, the whole old neighborhood association is they're bringing it to everybody's attention. And basically, we need to expand that, I would say, what can be built on each site, so that we have give a little bit more direction. We need to take care of our own zoning so that we can make sure that it matches what our vision is. But nothing comes easy, especially in redevelopment. I think the whole town has seen that over the past development. From changing sidewalks, putting in paths, having the V&O Railroad, getting that completed. Everything's done in time, and it is a difficult process. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Any questions for him? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vince. Okay.
Nick Sturgeon, 5045 West 14th Street, live in
OCNSA. And I'm actually up here representing myself as a, resident and a town leader. While I appreciate Vince's comments, I'm against this personally. Living in Old Town since I moved in 2007, the character is one of the reasons why we've stayed, and I moved in initially. And to see housing, if you looking, and I will agree with Jessica, we have a housing problem in this district. If you look at the Fisher School District, it's one of the smaller populations of all 4 elementary schools. We do not need to be removing houses and homes from this district. We need to increase and continue to make this a residential area, not a commercial one. So when all of this came down, I was out of town, so I really haven't had a chance to prepare any formal remarks, but I did just want to make sure, at least for myself as a resident of Old Town Speedway, I'm not in favor of this appeal. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next person, please.
I'm Justin Farrell. I live next door to the property in question. Was not prepared to speak, but here I am.
Do you have your address, please?
4918 West 15th Street. I guess at the end of the day, ideally, it would be awesome if a family would buy that property. Unfortunately, the property was sold from the original owner tied to 2 commercial buildings, so he owns it now. We have a house also across the street that's been vacant for as long as I can remember that's also tied to a commercial building and is dilapidated and falling apart. As I would love to see the house stay, that'd be great, but my yard is a mess at this point. I would like some action I want this to move forward because I can't take my kids in the backyard right now because the tree's been cut down. Things are a mess. I just kind of want to see some things move forward. The delay in this is just affecting me directly because I'm the one living with it. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay.
Dakota Faulkner, and I live at 1114 Winton Avenue, also in Old Speedway. I think my husband and I walk down that street almost every day to get to Main Street, and we love looking at all of the houses across the street as we go up and down them. It's not great to add another parking lot. What I would also say is that before this property was purchased by this person, they knew that there was no parking there. They knew the parking limitations of Main Street before they purchased and still decided to purchase. I would have thought more thought would have went into that before the purchase was made if they thought parking was going to be an issue. Also really sad to just see the trees completely taken down, not even dug up, just cut down with an ugly stump left remaining. And also, I will just say that in not only having a housing shortage is an issue in Speedway, but also all the things that were named about what comes along with the parking, and to get 14 spaces. We want businesses that are investing in Speedway to be serving people who live in Speedway. While we would love tourism for people to come outside of Speedway to patronize these businesses, they also should serve us. And there are many people in walking distance of where this commercial building is. And there are plenty of other spaces along Main Street that could accommodate a parking lot. I'm thinking of one building that is literally falling apart with who knows what inside for years and years and years that could be removed for a nice parking lot for all of Main Street. But for some reason, that's not being considered as a place for parking, so.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Calvin Nguyen. I'm the Indianapolis and Marion County Preservation Coordinator at Indiana Landmarks at 1201 Central Avenue. Indiana Landmarks is a statewide historic preservation nonprofit. I'm here today to echo the local voices you've heard speaking against the demolition of one of Speedway's historic homes and to provide sort of a professional preservation lens to this situation. 4914 West 15th Street has been designated by the National Park Service as a contributing resource to the Speedway National Historic District, which was listed in 2005 for its significance as an early company town for nearby automotive and manufacturing industries. The residential fabric in which those industrial workers lived tells a vital part of that story. This house is no exception. Its first occupant, William J. Beck, worked as a milling shop foreman for the General Motors Allison plant here in Speedway. While it has changed hands many times since, its existence tells the story of Speedway in the built environment and helps retain the character of this town. This house holds particular importance as one of the only, if not the only, true federal revival houses in all of Speedway, where most historic houses are either craftsman bungalows or American foursquares. Losing this house to a parking lot would eat away at Speedway's unique residential architecture and further divide the residential side from Main Street. Speedway's most recent comprehensive plan explicitly outlines historic preservation as a goal to, quote, preserve historic areas in Speedway and, in specific, preserve the Speedway Historic District. Among the high priority strategies to achieve this goal was to maintain the historic district designation. A decision to tear down one of the more prominent historic homes in this district goes against this goal, and in part jeopardizes the area's historic designation eligibility. In making your decision, I urge you to consider the negative impacts this petition can have on Speedway's architectural resources and historic residential core. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick question. I know that the neighborhood itself is a historic neighborhood, designated as such, but the homes within and none of the buildings themselves are designated as a landmark, though. Is that correct?
So within historic districts, there are contributing properties that are officially listed in the National Register of Historic Places. 4914 West 15th Street is one of those properties.
I see. Okay, so thank you for clarifying that.
I'm happy to answer any other questions you all have, too.
Any other questions? Thank you for coming this evening.
Come on, Chuck, up here.
Good evening. Charles Bennett, 4934 West 15th Street. Good evening to the board. I appreciate the time to remonstrate against petition for variance concerning docket number 2025 DVS 004, the variance to permit a permanent off-street parking facility or lot within the D5 dwelling district. Even though I'm not adjacent to the property, I'm 233 feet to the west, which could become a parking lot. The property that you're talking about does contain, well, if it's 4914, if it's 4915, that parcel doesn't exist. So if they want to put a parking lot on that, I'm good with that. But this property that we're talking about in 4914 is a contributing structure to the Speedway Historic District as it was constructed in 1931. And specifically to the question that you asked about, yes, it's not designated where we're going to tell someone what they can and can't do with their property, but the ratio of contributing homes that have to be 50 years or older, the ratio, I believe, is 4 or 5 to 1. And so when this was designated Historic District in 2005, the students of Speedway Junior High actually went through and documented all of the dates of the homes so we could provide for that, thus saving the old Speedway City Neighborhood Association about $8,000 to $10,000 that Weintraub Associates at that time wanted to do, but I'll stick to the point. Also, too, as a lifelong resident of Speedway and someone who's chosen to reside in the historic district, I believe demolishing houses to place parking lots in the D5 dwelling districts would be detrimental to the neighborhood and my property values. I've stated numerous times over the last 20 years, as I am for redevelopment, what I'm not for is for de-development and destruction of historical structures and historical neighborhood. I don't think anyone in this room would say that the parking issue has suddenly appeared. As I've done time and again, and I know we referenced earlier, but I have several items from the speed zone plan that was developed in 2005. I have several items from the Urban Land Institute 2008, Speedway Main Street Proposed Development Phase 1 map 2009. In fact, there's a withdrawn case for parking on this particular property in 2010 UVS 002 in which the staff report does reference that report as one that the variance petition was placed on that on hold for future Speedway variance use. Actually, it was a temporary variance in which that variance asked for the demolition of the house at that time for temporary parking. The variance, if it would have passed, which it did not, was going to go away in 2011. So that would have been a blank lot anyway if they would allow that for temporary variance. Also, too, I think with the current issue or the current staff report is I don't think they take into account critical exhibit A, critical area 15 for Speedway that was done by the Wayne Township Metropolitan Development Commission, in which they said from 10th to 16th Street we should restrict strictly commercial village mixed-use land uses to the existing boundary formed by the alley and Lloyd Street just west of Main Street, meaning that that alley was a hard stop for whatever might come in for development for the residential district and the SZ1 development district that was ongoing. Given all that, there's just 3 more points I want to make. First, I would agree with everyone who says putting a parking lot in a residential neighborhood I don't think is safe. At some point, this board was concerned with safety, as was a major reason why the present zoning was not changed in the past and has never been granted. I also would point to the fact that the development has always been that alley with the hard break. And third, when I look at the petition that was submitted for this particular variance, one, the date or the address is wrong on the house. So I was, again, taken aback by that. I was also, I guess, when I looked at this, the unprofessionalness of it, and that makes me wonder what's going to happen with the parking lot. And then even in there was a request for the town of Zionsville, which I didn't understand if we were Zionsville or Speedway, so I wasn't quite sure about that. So having said all that, you know, my main concern again is the destruction of the historical neighborhood. Being a resident with substantial investment in my home, I'm concerned the value of my home being located next to or near parking lots. And I don't even know why, to be honest with you, we ever did SZ1 zoning, because I know they referenced that in there as well, because no project on Main Street has not gone into existence without a variance that this board has passed 5-0. I guess most developers who buy and just expect us to, I guess, just, I don't know, since they've already torn down the trees and the privacy fence, think we're going to pass at 5-0. So I don't think if you don't say something that if we don't hold people accountable for these regulations, it's not sound zoning. And last but not least, when development doesn't follow established plans or zoning ordinances and studies, it causes the public to not trust the process and forces adjoining property owners and residents to bear the burden of improper development. So, thank you.
Hello, my name is Amy Carroll. I live at 1221 Winton. I've lived in Speedway for 20 years. My husband grew up in Speedway, and I've been honored to be able to raise my 2 sons here. About 15 years ago, I can remember when we first started discussing the redevelopment, even more than that, the redevelopment along Main Street. And I can remember attending neighborhood associations with some of you, as well as many people in the audience, and that's how I got to know my neighbors. This is one of the things I love most about Speedway, is that we have great volunteers that come and sit on boards and give their time and are willing to listen respectfully to all of the people in the neighborhood that they are friends with and neighbors with and residents alongside. So I thank you tonight for listening to all of us. I am opposed to the variance or to the change in the residential housing that you have here tonight. I can remember when we started talking about the problems with widening the alley, with changing some of the housing along there, and time again, we were promised as a community from the neighborhood association, not the neighborhood association, but from the redevelopment commission, the town council, and American Structure Point brought plans stating that every house, including Dr. Torrella's house, that would be taken away would be put in with a buffer area. That buffer area would include a brick wall, landscaping, and sometimes pocket parks and community gardens. If you drive along the alley today, you'll see many changes along that alley, and I really appreciate the developers that have come in here to help our community. But not one of those developers has been held accountable for putting those things in place. To the best of my knowledge, I see one wooden privacy fence that I think a property owner had to install themselves. That's not right for our town. We all backed off because we thought and we trusted that these things would be put in place. If you go ahead with this change tonight, we have no system in place to hold any developer accountable, or any future developer accountable to do anything that's right for our neighborhood, including those buffer areas that were promised so long ago. I also own and run a business in Zionsville. I've been there for about 3.5 years. And let me tell you, parking there isn't easy. But every single one of those businesses, I don't hear them, I know many of the businesses, I know some of the restaurant owners, none of them came in there expecting parking spaces for their employees to park. I don't have a parking space available to me for me to park at my business every day. Many restaurants don't either, and yet they all survive. We all know that the redevelopment, the town has had many plans that they can implement, that they're trying to implement in the future to create more parking. And I have to agree that we have to be patient that those things will happen. I do trust that that will happen in the future. And pulling down a house, putting down a parking spot in this one is not going to help our neighborhood. It's not going to alleviate any of the parking situations that we have for those workers at those businesses. And worst of all, it's going to create an issue for the next house, and then the next house. And none of you, not a single one of us in our audience, not any of you sitting at this table, would like to go home tonight and know the next day or the next week or the next year, your house, the next one next to you, will turn into a parking lot. And that's not right for our town. We know that. We're all friends. We're all neighbors. We all have to get along. Please do what's right for everyone in our community, not just someone with some money in their pocket. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle Stagey, and I live at 4926 West 14th Street. I am 2 houses down from the parking lot behind Bourbon and Barbecue. I'm here to tell you about the reality of living behind a parking lot. The reality is, it's very noisy, it's very distracting, it's very hard to sit on your back porch and enjoy your own barbecue. My children have had to listen to trash trucks wake them up at 2 in the morning because the trash dumpster has been moved further and further and further away from the restaurant into the parking lot. Yes, there is a wall that stands about 4 feet high so that we don't have to worry about cars running into our homes, which I appreciate that. There is also a privacy fence. There are floodlights that go all the time. Again, when you try to go to sleep, you have lights coming through your curtains. We have trash trucks coming at 5 in the morning. My children don't get up until 7 or 8. I have partiers, and this is the biggest thing, and this is the thing that can't be stopped. As long as these people are not doing anything wrong, we have an open carry policy now that you can walk down Main Street and drink your beer. You can also sit in a parking lot on that curbed wall and you can drink your beer with your friends. Listen to your radios on your cars as loud as you want until 11 o'clock at night. My children go to bed at 9. Nobody asked me when this went in, when the house was torn down, what I thought of this process. And at the time, I didn't think, even though I wasn't asked, I didn't think it would be a big deal because it looked to me as if all of these safeguards were being taken into consideration. And it's not unsafe, in my opinion, but it is noisy, it is distracting, it distracts from my ability to entertain in my backyard. And as far as parking goes, I live 2 houses down from Main Street. I park in front of my house, but my driveway will hold 4 cars. If everyone decides to visit Main Street at the same time and drive in, they often park in front of my house. As a homeowner who purchased a home that close to Main Street, I knew that that parking was going to be used by other people. It is a public street. That's what it's there for. At that point, I pull around back in my alley and I park in my driveway and go in my back door. I do not own 14th Street. It is there for everyone to use, and it is often used. Pub crawls, when we have the marathon come down 10th Street, when we now have the movies at the little stage that we've put there at the corner by La Peep. My parking in front of my house disappears. This is not a problem for me. This is not a problem for my neighbors. My neighbors could not be here tonight. They've asked me to share with you the same. We don't mind sharing out front at all, but we do find it distracting every single day to have a parking lot outside of our bedroom windows. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Okay.
My name is Ben Shook. I live at 4941 West 15th Street. I'm a lifelong resident of Speedway. My grandparents were lifelong residents of Speedway. They used to live in where Chuck Bennett lives currently now. I would challenge every one of you to walk down my street and count the children that are residents in that neighborhood right now. It's busy enough without a parking lot at the end of my street, especially at closing time. And then when summer draws near, their kids are going to be out later and school's going to be out. It scares me when I see these cars racing down my street with no regard of what they've just consumed down at the end of the street. A parking lot just adds to that trouble. Please keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Julia Pratt. I live at 5106 West 10th Street. My house is not in the old Speedway Historic District. However, I live in the Neighborhood Association District. I've been on the board. I've been listening to the redevelopment for quite some time. And I'm listening really hard to everyone speak tonight. And I came tonight because I'm channeling Elizabeth Frazier and Ed Frazier. They were so instrumental in creating Old Speedway City Neighborhood Association. Elizabeth and Charlie Bennett spearheaded the project, I believe, for creating the historic district. And the character of our neighborhood won the Neighborhood USA Award that year for this project in 2005. Or was it 2007? Seven. So I'm trying to visualize how this is going to play out. And I know that when developers come in, they see us as a unique place. They want to be part of it. They want to tag on to the successes that we've enjoyed since 2005 and all the redevelopment. It's just been amazing. But I do think that maybe we would like to start a conversation with them a little bit more closely so that we can move forward together. I know that it's very hard to have property on Main Street with some of the limitations that we have. And I'm going to be really sad when that building may or may not be torn down because it was the original old Speedway Bank. And you know, I'm one of these people that have been here forever. My mom moved into the area. She would tell you that she walked to that bank to pay her loan on the house. You know, there's some deep history going on here. And when a petition like this comes forward, it kind of feels like you don't care about some of that deep history that we as residents really, really care about. So I'm not hearing from this audience and the demonstrators that we don't want to work with developers that come in, but we do want them to be mindful of the unique qualities that are Speedway. We want a walkable town. You know, I know there's a struggle with parking, but I also know that we want to be very walkable, and most of us walk everywhere. And I remember Elizabeth and Ed Frazier, they walked everywhere. So, you know, some of these threads and some of these stories maybe could inform a developer of what would really work in the space that they've bought. You know, I was kind of nice to hear that this house has a unique architectural history. That is the only one of its kind in our neighborhood is kind of a neat thing. When we want to create a destination place, you know, I believe there's an old Speedway historic tour. You know, we want to be able to talk about those kinds of things that are unique in our old Speedway city. You know, we want to talk about the new development coming in. We want to be partners with them, but we don't, you know, we just would like to keep our quality of life and our walkability. You know, there's got to be a solution to this parking problem that, you know, maybe we need to be creative on that and come up with something unique just for this situation, you know, and then we'll be a new example for people that struggle with parking in neighborhoods. I'm making this up as I go along, but that would be really cool. And then, okay, come over to Speedway and see, you know, we'll show you on the historic tour what this cool solution was. So I'm going to stop talking because I'm just rambling, but I hope that you'll keep this in mind, because Speedway has some unique qualities. I had to move away and come back just to realize how cool this place was. So, and how cool it is to live here. You know, it's not by chance that we're a generational town where the kids come back and then the grandkids come back and they live in the original house. So thank you so much for your time, and please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Boer. I live at 4920 West 15th Street. That's a house in between the one that they want to tear down. Now, mind you, I did not realize any of this to start off with, and just a few weeks ago, I look out my window and I see them and I think that's great. They're out trimming the trees. Well, guess what? By that evening, 3 trees, took 40 years to build, were down to the ground. I lost all my squirrels that was running around out there I love. I lost the birds. I lost an owl. And I lost a hawk. They were all in the big tree. That's probably one of the saddest things happening. And then I find out they tore down the fence in the alley, and they tore down the trees, and I look out my window, and all I see is the back of the buildings on Main Street. They want to tear down that house, and why they want to tear it down, I have no idea, because it's a good house. It's well built. My house is 107 years, 118 years old, right around in there. It was built in 1917. I've been here in Speedway about 65 years and owned this home for 57 years. I feel sorry for the couple next door. They're a young couple. They're putting tons of money into that house to rebuild it and make sure it's a livable home. They have 2 small children that cannot run around out there, because also when they came in with the trucks to haul off the lumber, that nicely yard that was grass is now mud and big tracks. The guy, like I said, tore down the fence, everything else, just like he automatically knows he's going to take that house. It'd be a shame to make it a parking lot, because that parking lot will be used from like probably 7 o'clock in the morning until 2 or 3 a.m. the next day, because we have places on Main Street that serve liquor. It's not a good idea to bring it into the area. The houses down there are noted for taking care of race drivers. We have history there. I have history with this house that they want to tear down. In 1952, this young kid from Ben Davis came over to Speedway and took his drum lessons in that building. The guy who lived there, he gave me lessons. These are things that I remember. That's just the reason I moved to Speedway. When my wife, which was a Speedway graduate, my girls were raised here in Speedway, in that house. We all love Speedway. We all are willing to work with anybody. I joined the neighborhood association at the beginning. I was on their board for about 12 years. We did nothing but want to work with the people in Speedway. This is the greatest bunch of people that I've ever dealt with. I just want to let you know, it would be a shame if you guys and us let that house be tore down or any more tore down in the town of Speedway. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more people who wish to speak? Okay. Oh.
John Merritt, Building Commissioner for the town. I am not, don't have an opinion on this variance whatsoever, but I just want to make sure everybody understands we now have an existing ordinance that allows Airbnbs, and there are many through this district as well, which are commercial ventures as well. So if this doesn't move forward, and once again, I have no opinion, it could end up to be one of the largest Airbnbs. I'm not saying anything about the owner or whatever. I'm just saying if they sell it or whatever, we have people all the time calling up and let us know that they're not happy with some of the activity of those as well. So once again, we just always need to keep in mind, you know, all things can happen and all things can, you know, make us happy and not happy, livable, whatever the case is. And some of those same nuisances occur in that as well.
Thank you.
Back up?
No, because you've already,
Was he as a not a demonstrator?
well, yes, but we have to now allow the petitioner first to come back.
Then you can.
Okay.
Pardon me?
I would be as an individual.
Pardon me?
I would be a remonstrator as an individual.
No, okay.
Okay,
That's
that's-
separately?
So, yes.
Okay.
This is just Janet Fullen, 1629 Fisher. So when I think about neighborhoods and towns, I think that it's the people. And I understand we need commerce, and I understand that we need parking, and we want those things. We do want development within reason, but it should always be focused on the people. And the people are the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is the town. And it's a historic neighborhood. And to turn a residential lot into a parking lot that, like this lady talked about, the loud noise, the lighting, the people that stand and stay too long and drink right next to our homes, I think it would just really be a really bad thing for that street. I'm very against it.
Okay, thank you. And we have, sir, okay, did you want to speak? Okay.
I was going to say, can I make a quick comment real quick?
Yes.
A couple people have made the point about trying to stop them from tearing down this house. That is not within the purview of this board. We are talking about a residential lot being converted to a potential parking lot. We have no ability to control the owner from tearing down that house, whether they want to or not. So I just wanted to clear that up for everybody.
Okay, please.
My name is Braulio de la Torre. I live in 1619 Hollister Drive, resident of Speedway since 14 years ago. I moved from Mexico 30-something years ago. I live in different cities. I work in different places where parking is a necessity, downtown. You know, right now I work for Lucas Oil Stadium. There's no parking. Yes, I understand employees need to park, but employees can walk. Sometimes they walk a mile to get to work. There's plenty of spaces behind the Allison transmission. There's plenty of parkings all the way over there. Employees can be forced to park over there and leave all the empty spaces for the guests. Employees will do that. You know, we are attached to that to get the job done. Speedway has a lot of history. I love history. I'm proud to say I live in a Speedway, and when people come to visit, I take them in a tour to see the houses. I'm really proud to say that was the first town to adopt a garage nationwide. You know, so to destroy something like that, to put a parking lot, I mean, it's just the living conditions just become something that I don't see why the town Speedway agrees to that. You know, I wasn't aware when we moved in. You know, I loved walking down Georgetown Road, and then they had to close that one, so now there's no way to get in. I understand it. You know, we given so many concessions. We destroy a beautiful tree that was over there by the hotel that hasn't been built yet. You know, it's 5 years in there. Why don't we make that into a parking lot? You know, I understand you guys don't have the power to stop the demolition or whatever these people wants to do, but being a historic preservation, why don't we force them to preserve that? You know, we have another building, like Dakota said, sitting there, and nobody does anything to it. You know, why don't we take it as a town and do something with it? You know, we all proud Speedway residents. Let's show that proud. Let's not bend over to the people that comes over. I know they want to make money. I know they bring tax money to us, but it's other ways. You know, I know we all smart people. You know, you guys have degrees. You guys have all this understanding better than me. But in my personal experience, we, the people that work in restaurants, that work in hospitality, we find a way to get to our job. Especially if it's spaces that it provided over there. You know, it's less than a mile away. We all walk there. You know why? Because that's how we are in hospitality. We serve all the stuff for the guests, and they are guests to our house, yes. But when the guest to our house comes over and wants to take over to your house, better we find another guest. It's my humble opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've heard from everybody that wishes to make their first statement. Will the petitioner come back? So you have 5 minutes for a rebuttal on anything that's been said, or any other.
First and foremost, I appreciate it. I just want to make it known to the town. I totally am sympathetic to all of your concerns, and I can't alleviate all of them. I am born and raised here in Indianapolis. Family's been here for a very long time. I think my family's attended every single race since their very first race. We feel very strong about the Speedway community. We recognize the close-knit community that you have, and we believe in that. This is not something that is a quick investment for us. This is a long-term hold for us. Anything we've done has been a very long-term hold. Currently, I've already gotten to know a lot of retailers along Main Street, and I have already afforded current retailers to park on the lot. They're currently using our back lot, which I was welcoming them to do. I recognize, even as a retailer myself, the need to have close proximity parking for those specific retail spots on Main Street. It's not like we're trying to demolish history here. I'm a history buff myself, and I'm totally understanding of the sympathy for the town. I have been in communication with the adjacent neighbor, Justin. I appreciate your remarks. I've tried to give him his assurance that we will be in communication with him and allow him to participate in the construction of the fence, the look and feel of that, the landscaping. We want to do right by him, not only him, but also the neighborhood. This is purely something we find as a good opportunity to invest in Speedway to help the vitality of retail on Main Street. The building's been vacant for a very long time, and the house has been as well. We're not trying to remove history here. This is something that we just feel like it's a great long-term investment in what is something that is special to us as a family who's been involved in Speedway for a very long time. Again, I appreciate all of your remarks, and I'm very sympathetic to your feelings, and I'm trying to at least be here to alleviate some of those and let you know that we are trying to partner with the neighborhood and creating a safer and more vibrant Main Street. That's really the goal here. It's not something that we're looking to flip and get out of. There's plenty of places where we could put money and make it quicker. This is something we find is an interesting opportunity for long-term and helping the vitality of Main Street retail and Speedway.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone that wishes to speak 5 minutes in rebuttal to that, to our petitioner?
Hello, my name is Debbie Rush. I reside at 4958 West 14th Street, and I appreciate your comments, and I don't have any doubt that you feel that you will do the best to your knowledge. But we've been going through this since 2005, and when we had a meeting before it even started, we were to write on note cards to say what we thought about it. We were all for it, except we didn't want it to turn into a circus because we all had kids that we were raising. And I personally was told, what are you worried about? Well, at the time, we were told that there was only going to be 3 liquor licenses on Main Street. How many liquor licenses do we have now? We were told that there was going to be a parking garage at the end of my block in between 13th and 14th on Praxair's property. That didn't happen. So then when they were doing the Wilshaw apartments and condos, oh, there's going to be a parking garage. Well, now we can't do it. So then now we're going to have a hotel put on the corner that was supposed to be a green space. And that didn't happen. There was supposed to be a parking lot on the other side of the roundabout. Well, now the Indianapolis Motor Speedway owns that property. Nobody parks over there. So upon lies is all that we have gotten on what's going to be done. There was supposed to have been between 13th and 14th, after they realized that they couldn't put a parking garage there, a memorial where they were going to walk through. There were going to be waterfalls. There was going to be copper waterfalls and all of the memories and everything about how the 500 started. That's not there either. We were told that the old buildings weren't going to be tore down. Ted's Beauty Shop should never have been torn down. That building had been there forever. It was there when they started building buildings in the early 1900s. And the one comment to one of the board members that told me was, we didn't really realize anybody would notice it was gone. How does that happen? How does that happen that nobody's going to notice a building that's been standing for as long as it did that we're not going to notice?
Okay, Debbie, please stick to the rebuttal of the point.
Okay, so the parking lot. So at the end of my street is now a parking lot. That they tore down a house, and they lied to Mr. Woodlock, went to his door, said, oh, it's going to be nice. We're going to have this big retaining wall. We're going to have the plants. We're going to have this, and we're going to have that. And then, but what he got was gravel for 3 years, and the dust and the dirt, and lied to. And that's what it's been, everything. Now we have a parking lot on the other side of 14th Street, on the south side, behind the condos where Ted's Beauty Shop used to be. But people don't know they can park there because there's not any signage that it is for public parking. So you don't have people utilizing that. What is one more parking lot for 14 cars going to help? You know, they cut out all the parking on the east side of Main Street to accommodate a bike route. It's hardly ever used because they either drive on the street or on the sidewalk. They were supposed to be in diagonals, and I can't remember the numbers, but Mr. Bennett had made a quote at one point in time that you guys got rid, or not you particularly, but they approved that of the design, and it eliminated 120 parking spots on that east side of the road. And now you want 14. That doesn't make any sense. Tear down a home that we're struggling to keep kids in our school system as it is, and then you want to tear down another residential on top of all of these Airbnbs where there's no families that are in them. And there's not going to be a family in that parking lot. There's not a family in the parking lot on the north side of 14th, nor is there a family in the south side of 14th. And I would hope that you guys would look at that and know that the more houses you keep tearing down, the less kids that are going to be in our school system. And that's what we pride ourselves on, is our school systems. Thank you.
Debbie, you did a good job. You had 2 seconds left out of 5 minutes. Okay, I think we're at the point, Mitch, you said you had a few more comments to make.
Thank you. Once again, Mitch Rector from Medica Group. I've prepared a staff report for this. I appreciate the tremendous turnout from all proponents and remonstrators for this. It's great to see so many people who have a plethora of opinions to share on this variance. There were a couple practical concerns I just had with the petition that had been applied for, both the original and the amended document. It did say on here that the current zoning classification for this property is SZ1, which is the Speedway Main Street District. I just want to make it clear that the property in question is in a D5, which is a dwelling, medium house in a walkable neighborhood. So there are no setback requirements is the problem for parking in a D5 district. So a variance of use would, I think, create an interesting situation where all setbacks in the D5 district are based on the house type. This is not a house. So I just want to make sure that whether that information is used to approve, postpone, or deny this variance, that is something that's being concerned here, that a variance of use kind of does tie into the actual dimensional standards, and that's why I want to be 100% clear on what actually is being applied for here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions for Mitch?
All right, now.
No? Okay. So at this point,
I would make a motion that we continue this petition to the May 7th, 2025 hearing.
I'll second that.
okay, I have a motion and a second to have a continuance of this petition to the May 7th hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so at this time, we are not voting tonight on this because, well, for several reasons, but we are continuing this until our next meeting, which will be May 7th at 7 p.m. in this location. So at this point then, is there any other business before the board? Seeing none, we will adjourn at 8:28 p.m. Again, thank you very much for showing up tonight.